Hi everyone, welcome to vlog number 5 of the From Data to Value vlog series with me, Henrik. Today, we're digging into one of the key building blocks of how to become data AI ready. So we covered on a higher level several building blocks, core capabilities we need to have. And now we're moving into the fundamental capability around how to think about change. So today we're talking about systemic balance change and executive immersion. So that's what you saw on the bottom foundation parts of the graphics that we had in the last vlog. Now, so let's talk very briefly about what is it that we're trying to achieve with this change and what is the situation where this change needs to work. So we have established in the earlier vlogs that we are dealing with a paradigm shift. And the fundamental definition of a paradigm shift is that it's really, really hard to see where it's going to end up. So the technology is changing at a rapid pace, so we don't even know where the technology is taking us. Regulatory is not keeping up, so we don't even know what we can do and not do. We have GDPR, and we don't even know how to interpret it. So all these things ends up that the normal project-oriented way, where we are here and we need to go here, it won't fly. So we're dealing with a paradigm shift. So this is one of the challenges, how to think about designing a change journey when that is a fact. The second topic that I want to talk to you about today is when you, on top of that, is living in a huge enterprise. So this is not for everyone that this challenge occurs, but in a large enterprise, you have the challenge, how do I get the lean startup acceleration and speed and making everybody go without fragmenting the whole company into silos, into tribes? So how do I build enterprise value at speed? Now, those key things boils down to the core themes that we should talk about today. So how to design change must start with those fundamentals in place. If you don't believe them, I'll challenge you to think about it differently and give me comments about this, what you think is the view on this. But those core fundamentals is what we are building on. Now, I have boiled this down now into 4 major topics that I think you should think carefully about when you design this change journey. And the 5th one is actually how to deal with these 4 themes in a large enterprise setting. You have a 5th consideration to take. Now let's take them one by one. The first theme here I called lean perpetual innovation by design. In a nutshell, don't focus on defining the project. Don't focus on defining the roadmap, what you're going to end up. Focus on designing the innovation engine itself. So how to take innovation and change as an engine into your core operations, into your core processes. Now what that is all about is a couple of things. First of all, we need to have a very sharp decision funnel. We have heard the word fail fast. I say fail fast and cheap. So the way we go about innovation, we should be very smart to do the things that takes the least resources first. And as we are going through the funnel of innovation closer to something that we want to put in production, the more promising it gets, it's also where we want to spend more time and money and resources on it. So an innovation funnel is one key area. Second one, you need to start thinking around innovation as a life cycle approach in every single process in your company. If you've had a company for a long time and you've been streamlining and making your processes more lean over time, you've been doing cost cutting for the last 10 years, you end up with a very lean, core process-oriented organization. You're almost single point of failure on certain resources to drive your daily operations. What you need to think about now is to build innovation into that process. Why? We have already covered that you need domain expertise to really define the problem. So as long as you stay on PowerPoint level, you're all fluffing around. You're not hardcore automating core processes. You're not going to get to operational value. So then you need to basically start thinking about what do I need to do as an innovation engine or onboarding of new ideas into my core process. How do I take them incrementally, idea by idea, and put them into production. And as I'm doing that, how do I close down and decommission my old ways of working piece by piece? So you have a life cycle view of each and single process. Now, in order to do that, you come to the core topic of how you define your team. So your team is now growing from the ability to only do core process, maintaining a core process, to having a team that can innovate, develop, operate, decommission. This is all about lean, perpetual innovation by design. Moving on. Next core theme we're talking about here, I call balanced use case onboarding. Now, what I have seen and what I've experienced and where I have failed myself in the past is that I define the problem on a too fluffy level, number one. And I don't define the problem or the use case in terms of production operational value that I want to get to. So I'll give you an example. If I talk about innovation, like I need new technology and to build reports, I have not defined the real problem correctly, because we're not going to get richer by another report. It's the insights, actions that we take with this report that gives value. So ultimately, I need to define the problem for what is it the results that we are seeking for, what is the ways of working we want in order to change behaviors, and ultimately the report, self-service, BI, as this example is all about, is just an enabler. But if you define your use case, your project like a BI project, you're missing the point. Okay, so this is the core topic, define the use case problem. Moving on, what we established in the last vlog is that we have some core building blocks in order to go to operational value. So technology, operations, your core innovation ability, and your people. Now, if I now do a project and I spend all my money on new technology, but I haven't reinvented my process and I haven't got my people to change behavior from the old way of working to the new way of working, I don't have user adoption, I literally don't have any operational value. So whatever you do, you need to slice your use case so thin so you can have a minimum viable product, MVP, addressing the core building blocks in a smart way. So you need to think carefully how you slice the elephant to push to production. Now, what comes as a next step on that is also then how to prioritize. So you have a backlog now. This is what we're going to do in technology. This is what we're doing in process. This is what we need to train people. Now, the order of when you bring those activities into execution simply follows the life cycle of your innovation. So if I need to analyze the algorithm, that comes first. If I need to qualify the data and have data security, it comes next. If I need to refine and revise my process, if I need to train, you get the picture. So the life cycle of the use case highlights what you need to work sprint by sprint, dragging in items, user stories from all these different building blocks. So in a nutshell, that's what balanced use case onboarding is all about. Now, moving on to the other area here, executive immersion. What I have seen and experienced, and I see it all over again, is that since we are moving on operational level, how do we bring our executives with us on this journey so they actually understand the business they're in and how the process has changed from what it was 10 years ago when they were in operations. So if you don't get the guys that is leading us to understand the business, the operations, how that has changed, they will ultimately not do conscious decisions on where they are taking the company. So the key strategy here is that how do I bring the executives into the change? Not as a sponsor. Sponsorship is not the same as immersion. That's the fourth topic here. Like, we need to think how the executives are really getting their hands dirty so they feel their company in their bones. A simple tip, very simply put, find a role for your executive inside the use case, inside what you're trying to change. So figure out a role so he's not a sponsor and you're reporting to him, but he's actually adding value or being part of the operational journey. It could be that you need to assess a strategic fit. You need to have a reference group that is very smart, that can think outside the box about business model development. You invent it, you figure it out, but they need to be part of the team rather than looking down on the team to really get their hands dirty. So those were the four themes that I wanted to highlight. The fifth theme that we're coming to is how do we deal with all of this in an enterprise setting? You know, we want to create all of this, but at the same time, we don't want to do it in 10 different ways because we have 10 different business units. So here we come to the topic of creating our common vision and our common DAIR ways of working. So I'm not talking about a common way of working in our operation, but a common view of how this innovation engine looks like. So it boils down into training, teaching, having frameworks and methodologies that we can tap into, having people that is acting as navigator or coaches that is taking these ideas and helping implement them use case by use case. So we talk about then, you know, a way to activate the whole enterprise to basically get them a toolbox that helps them go in one enterprise way. Not limiting them to how they want to innovate, not caring about the details, but giving them the approach that in the end gives enterprise insights, gives enterprise view on data, gives enterprise value. So that is the philosophy that I think you need to take when it comes to change in a paradigm shift. What do you think? This is hard. You know, technology is not hard. Change is hard. This is where we are failing to really get to enterprise value and operational value. Give me feedback on what you think on this. Comment. How have you done it? I'm really curious how this is done. I have my ideas. What is yours? Until the next time, have a good one.